So Jimmy, we have worked together for a very long time. What advice would you give to anyone who is looking to get into the property market now?
The advice I'd give them is you've got to be really passionate about people. You've got to enjoy building those relationships, because that is what working in the property market, certainly in the estate agency sector, is all about. You've got to be resilient, particularly at the moment. But if you enjoy meeting new people, meeting a diverse array of different types of personalities, you'll love working as an estate agent in the property market.
And if you had your time again, and there's no wrong answer, would you have gone into estate agency?
Well, I can think of a few wrong answers, but I'm not going to go there. Yes, I would. Yeah, no, I've absolutely loved it. There's been highs, there's been lows, but working in residential sales is it's like going to Fort Park, being on a roller coaster. You know, it's ups, downs, but I wouldn't change it.
So why estate agency?
Why estate agency? I never wanted to be sat behind a desk for 8 to 9 hours. Would have gone insane. I wanted to do something where I was out and about, meeting new people, and I'm really nosy.
I think most estate agents are nosy.
Yeah,
That's
maybe inquisitive is a better word. But yeah, I love learning about people and building relationships over quite a long transactional journey. It can be in some cases years rather than months. So I find that fascinating.
And you've had quite an impressive career trajectory. We've spent a lot of time working in a shop together as estate agents, and now you hold a position as head of sales for all of John D. Wood. And you're pretty young for to hold that role. And I suppose in part that's probably because you didn't go to university. You started your career early. Do you think not going to university has held you back at all?
No. But that, who knows? But in my personal opinion, I don't know. But no, I went to the, University of the Streets. Got that.
Obviously, I know how you got into property, but can you share how you got your first job in property?
Yes, I made a number of applications online to probably over 20 estate agents and rejected from all of them. So I then took a different strategy. I thought I'll go in, put a suit on, print off my CV and walk into local estate agents and see if anyone had any career advice about how to get into the industry. I wasn't that much of an appealing candidate. I hadn't gone to university. I was working at a go-kart track, so can understand why people weren't really willing to give me an opportunity. So I walked into a couple of estate agents along the high road, and some of them, as you'd expect, gave me short shrift and showed me to the door. But others were a lot more helpful. Well, one in particular, which is you. I was very fortunate that you were working in that office in Crystal Palace at the time, and you sat down with me, gave me the opportunity. And I remember I'd actually applied for PEDA, who you're working for at the time. Not sure if I should say PEDA. An unknown independent estate agent in South East London. And I remember the story, you taking the CV to the boss at the time, and he said, I've already seen this, and you convinced him to interview me. And then obviously once I got the opportunity, I blew him away. And the rest is history.
Yeah, and I think, look, you walking in as a young person who'd made the effort to walk into a very intimidating environment was what impressed me, because I think most people wouldn't do that. And in that moment, I knew that if you had the confidence to do that, although you were, a young 19-year-old, that was exactly what it took.
Yeah.
And actually, that was the same way that I got my first job, which was walked Lordship Lane in East Dulwich, walked into a number of agents, and I was treated differently dependent on who I walked into. So for me, it reminded me of when I'd started out, and I was impressed by your approach. And I do remember at the time my boss was like, absolutely no way, he works at a go-kart track. And I sort of thought, well, actually, these are transferable skills. You've got to deal with the public. I think you had obviously heaps of ambition. So
if you want a job at John D. Wood, walk into one of our offices.
Not many people do that these days.
No. I agree with you. When people do that, and it's quite rare, immediately it differentiates you.
I mean, over the years, and obviously we don't work there anymore, we work here and we work together at Farron Satara before it merged to John D. Wood. So we've been on a journey, I suppose, together, although not always completely aligned. I think, what would you say has been your most challenging moment over your career?
That is a very difficult question. There's been a number. Probably the first transition, my first job as an estate agent, you become accustomed to that culture, that style of agency, and then moving from what was a very different company culturally into a very different area, in terms of clientele, in terms of prices, in terms of property styles. So that first leap there. But then probably going from a go-kart track was a bit more informal.
You were younger though, so probably a bit more amenable to change.
That's true. But I think what I sort of love about this profession and working in this environment is, there's not a day where you're not challenged on some level. So it's really difficult to isolate one, because right now it feels like the ones I've got going on now, but actually all of those challenges really help you develop into a better estate agent, a better person.
And I think, we are obviously both quite different, but we have a very similar work ethic. I think that we both take the approach that every day we can learn something new. And look, I think we're very good at what we do and we're great agents, but as leaders of our business, we really care about the people. And also, if someone in any one of our teams said, look, will you come out with me on an MA or wherever that, not only are we willing to do it, we absolutely love it. We still love what we do.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I wish I was selling more houses day to day. But what would you say is your most memorable moment in agency, or highlight in your career?
Look, I think the highlights are when you sell a house to someone, you really go on a journey with them. And there's a number of clients over the years who, they've had lots of challenges in their life, and being able to support them through that journey of what is a really difficult period of their life. Moving house is stressful, but a lot of these people were dealing with deaths in the family, illnesses. So actually taking them on that journey, removing the stress out of the process of the sale, and actually getting to the place where they're genuinely grateful for the impact that you've had on their life. That, for me, those examples, those clients probably are the ones that really stick in the mind.
And you lead teams now, lead teams of people who lead teams. And sometimes market conditions are more favourable, and sometimes there's really challenging periods, whether it's to do with the market itself or to do with some other factor. What would you say is your what's probably been the best piece of advice you've received, or that you would give to someone when leading teams?
I think you've always got to put yourself in their position. Never, ever make any decision until you have put yourself into their shoes and you try and understand the full context. Always listen to two sides of the story, always play devil's advocate. I think for me, as I've got more senior, my decision-making process has probably slowed down because I'm looking for the unintended consequences. Why are people behaving like that? Because a lot of the time there's mitigating factors, and you've really got to get that on board to make sure you make the right decision.
What would you tell your younger self? If you look back at that 20-year-old just starting out, what would you tell yourself?
Take a break.
Well, take a gap year. Don't start.
Work isn't life and death.
No, it's not. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, as you probably most people, as you get older, you realise that this, your job is incredibly important. But actually, as you get older, you realise, don't kill yourself for your job.
What's your most memorable sale?
Ooh, most memorable sale. It's got to be my first one. It was 165,000 above a Winkworth office in Forest Hill. It's always nice to get a board above another competing agent, and nothing like your first sale. So that's definitely up there. It was a repossession. It was a sign of things to come. It was a nightmare sale. It took 4 months. But
in a difficult time all those years ago to sell properties above commercial.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised you got that through, actually.
Yeah, by hook or by crook, we somehow managed to get it away.
Okay, so when you're not selling your soul at John D. Wood,
Sold my soul, sorry.
You said it, not me. How do you de-stress?
Running. Do a lot of running from my problems. No, I take my dog for a run in the morning, and I've recently discovered a new sport which is perfect for me. Requires limited talent.
Is this even a sport?
It is, yeah. It requires limited talent, limited time, and limited skills. It's perfect for me. So I play paddle now most weekends as my de-stress.
Okay, good.